I'll Never Smile Again became Frank Sinatra's first big hit with the Tommy Dorsey Band. Did you know it was written by a Toronto-born musician named Ruth Lowe? That hit began a decades-long friendship between the two, and Ruth's youngest son, Tom Sandler, joins us now for more on the chairman and his mom. Great to have you in that chair.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
How did your mom, first of all, born August 12th, 1914.
Yes.
So 101 years old she would be right now.
Yes.
How did she get started with songwriting and singing and playing the piano and all that?
Well, she was a musician, or she had a flair for music when she was very young, and she studied some classical music and formal music education.
There she is, Tom. Look at her.
Yeah, that's a great shot of her.
Yeah.
And my grandfather moved the family to California, where she grew up for about 10 years, from about 7 till about 16 or 17.
That's her on the left, right, on the piano?
That is her. That's the Ina Ray Hutton Orchestra, and that is my mom on the left piano. And she just had a natural gift and a talent for it. She loved to play, so she took enough to learn how to work it, and she took it from there.
Your mom's first husband went to the hospital one day.
Yes.
For a relatively routine procedure.
Yes.
And what happened?
Well, something went wrong during the surgery, and he unexpectedly passed away during that operation that night.
What was his name?
His name was Harold Cohen, and he was a music plugger, not a publisher, that she met in Chicago, and she was traveling with the Ina Ray Hutton Orchestra, and they played a couple gigs in Chicago, and she went on a blind date with the guy and fell in love with him.
Okay, and how long were they married?
They were married for a year, only for a year.
So it was real, like they were real sweethearts at the time.
Yeah. I think my mom had lost her father, my grandfather, when she was very young, and so this was somebody that came along in her life that she hoped was going to stabilize it and make her safe and secure.
One never wants tragedy in one's life, but the reality is, something good came from that tragedy. Well, a lot of good came from that tragedy.
Yes.
And here's part of it. Roll tape.
I'll never smile again until I smile at you. I'll never laugh again. What good would it do?
Who's the skinny crooner in the middle there?
Some newcomer.
That's a very, very young Frank Sinatra doing a song that your mother wrote as a result of that tragedy. Tell me about that song and what it meant to her.
I think it was really a healing process when she wrote it. She told me that she had just got up one night. My aunt would tell me that my mom was so distraught about what had happened that all she kept saying to her was, "I'll never smile again. I'll never smile again without him." And she sat down at the piano, and she always played from the heart, my mom, even though technically she was a real mechanic. But it all came from deep within her, and she just had that incredible emotion and depth to her. And I think she just sat down that night, and this song just came out, just wrote itself. She said it was a simple song. She just felt what she was feeling, and she was able to put it into words and music.
How did the song go from Ruth Lowe to Frank Sinatra?
Well, the Toronto story actually widens because when she came back after he passed away, she moved back to Toronto to be with her mom, my grandmother, and my Aunt Mickey, her youngest sister. And she had to get jobs, so she actually got a job working at the CBC as a piano player. And she had written the song already, and she took the song in and she played it and introduced it to Percy Faith, who was the arranger and the head of the CBC Orchestra in 1939. And he too was a pretty sharp musician and knew his stuff. And he loved the song, and he actually did the first arrangement of it and the first recording of it. And they actually broadcast it on air before Sinatra and Dorsey ever heard it. They gave my mom the 78 as a demo to keep, which I actually have still in her collection, which is an amazing piece of music to have. And she took that disc And she set up a meeting with Tommy Dorsey because she knew somebody in his band being a musician, and they came to Toronto to play the bandshell at the CNE. So a meeting was set up, and she walks in, and she was very cute, my mom, very attractive. And she walked in with a fully orchestrated recording, which was very, very rare. You know, most people come in with songs written on a napkin, or they would hum it or something.
There's your mom,
so,
with Tommy Dorsey on the right.
Yes.
Frank Sinatra on the left.
That's right.
Tommy
That's right.
Dorsey, Tommy Sandler.
There's a deep connection there. Well,
no coincidence, I guess.
No coincidence. No coincidence.
You're named after Tommy Dorsey.
Yes. That's true. That's true.
So Frank hears the song. Do you know? I mean, do you ever ask your mom? You know, did he fall in love with it right away, or was it a tough sell, or what?
I don't know what his reaction was to it. I think Dorsey fell in love with it right away, and they had tried a number of songs on Sinatra that didn't really work and go well. But when he heard this, a light went on, and this is Dorsey, and he just knew that this was the song. So they kept a very simple arrangement of it, and they gave it to Frank. But a lot had to do with the timing of when this broke, and the story behind the song was so endearing that people were very interested in how like you said, how the song was written and what happened to her first husband, and the song itself was phenomenal, and the story behind the song was phenomenal, and then you had Sinatra and you had Dorsey, but the war had just...
Well, this is it. World War II was just starting.
Was just on,
So,
and everybody was in a position where they were losing their love. You know, all the guys went off to war, and you know, a lot of them didn't come back, and I think it really struck the heartstrings of the nation. You know, that song. It gave a voice to people that, you know, weren't able to have that voice. And I think all those elements came together in this incredible flashpoint and made it a huge hit. And my mom always said the timing was everything. She said, I had that song, and you know, everything came together at that moment. So
timing wasn't everything.
No,
I mean,
well, I
that's a
agree
great
with you.
song, regardless of when it was written. That's a great
question,
song.
No question.
But I mentioned earlier, you know, out of tragedy, good things can come, and it's an odd thing, Tom, but if your mom's first husband doesn't die, you're not sitting here right now, right? Because you're a product of...
Maybe
Well,
not.
no, you're a product of the second marriage.
Well, yes, that's
which doesn't happen
true.
if
that's true.
If Mr. Cohen doesn't die on the table.
No, I guess that's one way of looking at it.
Well, I mean, you know, in some respects, you know.
Yeah.
Again, you don't wish tragedy on your mom, but here you are.
No, okay, all right. Well, but a lot of great art, most great art and music is written from not good experiences,
right.
I think, you know. Yeah. Once you become happy, I'm not sure whether or not you can write as well before. So,
good art seems to come from pain.
Yeah, there's a connection, a deep connection, and the art just takes you above it and heals it, I think. So.
Now, can I bring this interview right into the gutter right now? Can we do that? Now, Sheldon, you want to bring that picture up again? There's your mom at the piano with Frank Sinatra, and your mom is, let's face it, your mom's kind of cute.
Yes, she's very attractive.
From what I understand, having read the odd book about Frank Sinatra, he did like the ladies.
Yes.
Do you know whether there was anything there ever?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Are you telling me you never asked your mom whether or not Frank Sinatra hit on her?
Well, if you look at that picture again, he's actually standing a little further away from her, and I think maybe in those days he was a little bit more shy, and then he became a little bit more of unshy. But she didn't tell me a lot of details of stuff like that with life on the road and in the band, and I never had an orchestra, so. To answer your question, I don't know, but you know.
But if you had to bet money,
well,
who knows?
She was very friendly and
okay,
and an easy person to get along with.
We're going to raise the tone of the discussion again now and get it out of the gutter. I'll Never Smile Again. We've talked about the other song that your mom is very well known for. And I love this story because it's amazing. When they buried Frank Sinatra,
yes,
they didn't play My Way at the funeral.
No.
They didn't play New York, New York at the funeral. They didn't play It's 2:45, There's No One in the Place Except You and Me.
No.
They played this. Roll tape, please.
Put your dreams away for another day, and I will take their place in your heart.
Who wrote the lyric to that song?
Well, that was written by my mom as well, and it's a beautiful lyrics, and it's a very hopeful song, and it's sort of the opposite of I'll Never Smile Again. It's put your dreams away for another day, and I'll take your place in your heart. And I think that was a song of optimism. And Frank really liked my mom as a writer and as a person, and she had a great talent and a huge talent. And he was needing a theme song, a signature song. So he actually, in fact, asked her if she had another song that, you know, he could use. And it's sort of nice when somebody like that comes to you and asks you, could I please borrow one of your songs, you know? Very cool compliment. So she had this partly written, and he needed it. She said, I'll get back to you in a little while with it. He said, no, we're going to the studio tomorrow. We have to have a song. So she got together with her two songwriting buddies, Stephen Wise and Paul Mann, and they wrote the music to it, and my mom wrote the lyrics to it. So there was a combination.
In one sitting and had it to him the next day?
I understood that it was like they just worked overnight and finished the song off and fine-tuned it, as it was, pardon the pun.
Wow.
But
how is it that that ended up being the song they played at his funeral?
well, that was one of Frank's favorite songs, and he ended every show and every concert and every radio show. That was his signature song. So anytime they ended anything that he did, that was the song that was his
And
extra.
his kids picked that song for the funeral.
Yeah, the family, and that's right. It meant so much to them, you know. So.
What do you got there?
Well, this I thought you'd like to see. Enjoy this. This is a copy of the first Billboard chart in Billboard magazine, the first printed Billboard chart from 1940, and my mom's song, a Canadian songwriter's song, was the first #1 song on the first Billboard chart in the history of Billboard magazine, and they had them all in different categories, like the national, the East, the West Coast.
Feature it to the camera a little more, and we'll and point to your mom's name. Where is it on there?
Well, it's very hard to see. Yeah, it's in the #1 position.
Oh, there it is.
in
I'll
all
Never
the
Smile Again.
categories.
Yeah,
That's
there
right.
we go.
And then down here, it's also the best-selling sheet music seller of all time. So in those days, but that's really an amazing accomplishment, and you know.
Isn't it though?
Certain things that she did could never be done again and never be redone. So it's truly authentic and one-off sort of stuff. You know?
As you think back on your mom's musical legacy, what comes to mind?
Well, I think that, well, that's a good question. I think it made a lot of people feel really good. And I do a presentation about her to different places. And people, they tell me that they met each other through that song and through that music. They fell in love through that song and through that music. And they're still in love and they're still married. And I did a presentation yesterday, and as I turned around and looked at the audience, there was a younger couple there. They're mostly older folks that come to this thing, but there was a younger couple there, and they were, as the song was playing and I was talking about it, they were holding hands, sitting there. And I thought, that's what it was really all about. You know, that's really what it's all about. It's about a certain kind of intimacy and love and you know and companionship and the human experience and the beating of the heart and the expressing of it and you know being alive and just feeling complete, I think, you know. But her music always rose me up higher. She always was able to take me, no matter if I was down or confused, not confused, but just concerned about things. She could just sit down at the piano and it would just take over everything. It would take you to another place, to a better place where there was hope and there was something to believe in, you know, so.
Tommy, you're going to make me cry. That's beautiful. That is so good. To have a son talk about his mother so beautifully, and what a great legacy she leaves.
Thank you, yes.
Tom Sandler, son of Ruth Lowe. Thanks so much for coming into TVO tonight.
Thank you, it was great.
Help TVO create a better world through the power of learning. Visit supporttvo.org and make a tax-deductible donation today.